Okay now, about to start step 3. Watch carefully. Hi again, back to the case, and we're going to start populating it with the components. One caution I'd like to give you before I get started: if you're going to decide to test your motherboard, whether it's on top of the motherboard empty box or in a test bench like I do, make sure you put a heat sink on it, because if you don't, the processor heats up and the system shuts down. Happened to me a couple of times before I realized what I had done. So I think it's okay. We'll find out once I get it in here and start testing it. What do you think of my hat? My daughter got this for me for Father's Day. It shows my channel on it. My channel emblem, anyway, that I've created. Not in color. It does show it pretty accurately. Anyway, maybe I'll see if I can get some embroidered in color. Not that I'm trying to sell these things. I'm way far away from that. It might be interesting for me and my friends and anybody who helps me. Okay, let's get started. So here's the case. The last time I had this on camera, I was doing some modifications to it. Well, since that point, I went ahead and did additional slight modifications. Let me get all this stuff out of here first. The instruction booklet. The little fan here that came on the side was actually part of the side connection to the fan. There to be blowing either in or out to give it some more airflow. I originally took that out when I put in this other side fan. I may put it back depending on what the temperatures look like once I start running it. Of course, you remember the bracket. This is, I didn't modify this. This came with the case. It allows me to put either another fan or a hard drive. I'm going to be putting a hard drive in with this, as I mentioned before. Bag of goodies, adapters and screws and so forth. Another modification that I did was, I might have mentioned this the last time that I was going to do it, I changed the feet. It had these little silly little plastic things that, provided no real slip protection, and also were a little bit lower than I had liked. So these feet here are nearly twice as high, giving me a little more leeway underneath the case once it's in place. And they're fully rubber, so they will not only prevent skidding, but they will also help with the vibrations and dampen some of the vibrations that might occur once I have this going. The other modification that I did was this. I actually cut out some of the grill in the back here, right above the I/O shield. What I'm going to be putting there is the little manual switch that they gave me for the RGB that this case is going to have. They gave a pretty good setup. This is a manual one. I may upgrade it at some point to a remote controlled one. We'll see how it goes. I don't plan on having this changed too often. It's going to be a server in the corner of my network table. But this way, by having cut this hole, I can actually place it right up in here. I probably have to use some silicone sealant in order to get it right up in there. By removing 7 of those little grills, I was able to get a spot that fits it perfectly, and I could reach around from the right-hand side there and change the colors if I wanted to. Or turn them off, which is probably the way it's going to be most of the time. The motherboard's all ready to go. I'm not sure whether I should remove this fan or not. What I will do is I will take the cage out of the middle. This cage that I had created last time, I will pull it out. You just have to shift it and it comes right out. So I will take this out for now, so it makes it a little bit easier to get to motherboard access. I can leave that fan for now, and if it gets in the way, I will pull it out. I think we're good enough in terms of clearance on this. Got the motherboard right here. It's now got the heatsink on the M2 drive. And notice it's a nice color match with the heatsink, as I said before, with the memory. So let me go ahead into the package of goodies, empty that out. Oh, the other thing I did is I printed out from the online PDF manual the pages that I need in order to identify the pins. So when I'm putting on case pins or whatever else I need, I printed out all those pages that might be useful for that. So for the I/O pins and so forth, I'll have this all broken out. The standoffs are already installed, even though I had seen other YouTubers mention that their standoffs were not installed. On this case, when I got it, they were, so I don't need this special little nut Phillips adapter that they gave me with the package of goodies. The rest of this I'll just leave out for now. Now, the first thing I have to do is put the I/O shield in, which I have right here. Let me open up the I/O shield and get it in place. It's got those little fingers on it. That always bugged me. I'm going to make sure that those little fingers are properly bent in the right direction to start with this time. So I had one pushed the other way once, and it was real annoying trying to get my motherboard in there. So I bend them out into the case a little bit, just slightly, so that they make sure that they fall on the right side of things. Be very careful that they're not too much like this one here, or not at all like this one here. And just as long as they're just slightly bent into case, we're doing good. Again, to put the I/O shield in, pretty straightforward. It goes over here. The bottom of the motherboard has the actual sound connectors to it. So the motherboard is going to go in this way, into this case, the way I have it oriented. So the I/O shield has to go in the front here. So I have it oriented that way right now. So I have to go from the inside. Well, these are always tricky. You sort of got to play with it for a while to get it in there. Guess I could have took the power supply bracket off, but I'm not sure if that would have helped. Might have actually hindered it a little bit. Take that off next. Got to get all four corners in. Should snap in place just like that. Good. I got it oriented right. Now let me take off the actual power supply bracket. Phillips screwdriver here. I'm going to leave this off for now, just until I get the motherboard in. Gives me a little more room. It's 4 screws that hold this bracket. It allows the power supply to stick out the back a little bit, giving you thereby a little more room inside the case for other things. You're not losing it off the back too much anyway, because the I/O connectors are going to eat up about that much room. So we just take all this off. Don't want to lose anything here, so I don't want to lose the screws. I don't want to lose the bracket, so I'm going to put them up in the front here, out of the way, and together. So now I got the I/O shield installed. Proper position. I've got the power supply bracket out. So now I got to put the motherboard in. Before I do, let me pop the front off. Press the plastic tabs on the other side. I don't want to break those. Put the front cover over here. We'll be doing some more work with that later. So now I get a little more light into the picture. Again, I'm going to leave the side fan on for now, so far it's not in the way. Let me make sure all of these cables are out of the way. So I think we're good now in terms of having a nice open area for the motherboard to be placed. Let me make sure I got the right screws for the motherboard. Those are M3s. These screws right here with the little hood up on the top. It's ready. Now I can take the motherboard. I can get it in place. Never tried one this small before. It's my first ITX. Of course, this cable had to come back in. Get this thing down in here. It's good to dip it, to tip it slightly like this to get it in place, and then sort of angle it in. And then we double check to make sure all of the tongues have gone the right way. They're none bent the wrong way. And it looks like they're all good. Tongues along the side, but they're on the outside where they're supposed to be. A little bit off center right there. Gotta watch out for these antennae too. They've got to be completely through. That looks like it right there. So hopefully the holes in the motherboard have lined up, and they pretty much have. We get one screw in to start. We'll do the nearest one. Nice magnetic screwdriver. Screws, but we're not tightening this. We're going to go down just about 2/3 of the way. Make sure it's still lined up in the back, and it is. Let's do this one back over here for the fan. This one's another hidden one, I believe, yeah. This one's another one over here. ITX only has 4 screws that hold it in. And then finally, one right up here in the front. I don't use any electric screwdrivers for this type of stuff. I gotta feel it. Okay, the motherboard is in. And now the power supply is gonna be the last thing that I put in, because the wires are gonna be going all over the place. So now I'm gonna start putting together the drives. I'll start with the 2 drives that are going onto this cage. It's already got the things to slip into the base of the case with installed. I don't have to worry about those, but I got 2 hard drives I've got to be able to put in here. And I'll start opening them up, see what they're like. In the old days, you had to actually change jumper plugs on these things. I'm so glad that the newer technology has taken over here, and we don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, now for the first hard drive. Okay, we got the Iron Wolf 6 terabyte. This goes into the case. Let me just do a dry test here. This goes into the case like this, I believe, right? Back to lock it in place. So I want them to be pushed to the back as much as I can, because that's where I have the room. Now I'm gonna need to get to these connectors. I don't want them in the same side with the other one necessarily, so I'm gonna try putting it this way. sure I have at least 2 screws lined up. But I can put a screw here on this one here, just to sort of lock it in place. If I put a screw here with a washer, a big enough washer, then we'd probably be okay. Got a couple of different washers here. Let's see, try the biggest one first. See if that doesn't cause any problems with that. See what I'm doing here? I'm actually causing the screw washer to bend up along the base of that so I can lock it in place. Screw this one down. It'll bend a little bit, the washer, but that's okay. Not too much. And that should lock it in place. It looks like it does. I'll do the other side. Make sure that that's good too. I'm holding on my nail and I'm going to tighten it down. Okay, will that go anywhere? No, that's not going anywhere. Okay, good. I thought that was going to be an issue. Well, it's an issue, but at least the worst issue I was able to work around. And just to double check, it's another 6 terabyte Seagate. Again, if you just limited it to the 3 hard drives that this case supported, you wouldn't have this issue. I have the issue because I decided to fit a 4th one in here, and I had to come up with a way of doing it. I made this bracket out of my old computer parts, and now I have to get the thing to work. Okay, there's 2 drives in here now. Connectors at the correct end, and now it's quite heavy. This case is going to be quite heavy once it's all done. It's obvious with all these hard drives in it. Let's get this in here. And we're solid. Okay, now for the side. If I get those front panel wires in place right now, it might save me some trouble later. Yeah, because they're all the way over in there. Now I got a bigger printout of it. So this is the front panel switch. Right now in the case right now like this, they're going to be in this position here. So the power LEDs in the back, and let me take these wires rather than draping them in the back. Let me straighten them all out. Keep them all together for now. They're all coming from the same place. Let me push them out the front so I can keep them together. And then I'll drape them back over this way. Wire management is going to be a nightmare in this case, I can tell right now. As you can see here, I have to put the connectors down in that corner. So we're on the other side of this fan. It would have been easier with the fan out, but I think I can get them in with the fan in. So it's that end connector there. I think the power LED was the first one, plus in that direction. Okay, so let me find that cable. So the plus is this top one, the minus is there. So according to this, I got to put the plus to the top side and the minus to that side. There's the plus. So I got those 2 in. Power LED. Next is, let me do the one in the back. Power switch. There's the power switch. Okay, so I'm going to take this one, make sure it's following the same wire draping that I did before. Now, there is no polarity to the power switch. It's a momentary on and off switch, so it doesn't really matter which way it goes in. I'm going to keep the letters, though, in the same direction if I can. That way I can read them. What's next? The hard drive LED. That has polarity. That's an LED. Hard drive LED. Make sure it's come out the same way as the other 2. This goes the first 2 in the next row. And then finally, the reset. And the reset is also no polarity. The reset switch. So those 2 go there. Okay, that's all of them. USB 2.0 from the front panel. Yeah, it's the very next one up. USB 2.0. So there's only one place for that to go. It has a missing pin on it, so it'll match up with that particular connector directly. And it's in. Maybe you can see it there. And we got the audio, and we got the USB. Might as well hook those up now while I can, get them out of the way. The actual audio, 20, is the front panel audio header. Okay, good. So that's this one right down in there. It says HD audio if you look very carefully, of course. Also missing a pin, a different pin than we were missing before. So I got to make sure that that missing pin is appropriate. And it's in. Why don't they put black wires on that? It looks so much better. I don't think any time I've seen that. Yeah, I guess it is. And then the USB 3.0, that's this obvious one. That comes up over here. Same thing, there's a blank pin in here to be careful of. Also, there's a notch, so you can't really get this one is wrong. It has an actual notch here that you have to match up with. There. Let me go ahead and take this fan. If you look at these things, one is the fan, one is the RGB. Guess which is which. I'll just come over the top for now. Make sure it runs when I connect it up. Okay, it's in. The next hard drive. It's going to get harder and harder for me to illustrate this as I block more and more of the viewable space. So this one here, this fan has got to go in. It's going to actually connect up on the inside of this, on these brackets here. So I got to put 4 of these dudes. I got to put 4 of these. Okay, I didn't mess with any of those today. Let me get the hard drive out. Hard drive number 3. Now this one I got to be careful because I got to be able to get to the cables. So the cables in this case are on this side. So I want to put it in this way. Okay, on the other side of this bracket, of course. So let me put these 4 things on first. Oh, let me just double check. Yeah, 6 terabyte Iron Wolf. So how do I get this thing in there? Yeah, it looks like my memory has to come out. Does this bar come out? Yes, it does. I'm going to take this bar out. I'll go back in again. Maybe not in the same place, but it'll go back in. This looks like you have several choices with this. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't even consider that. It's going to be this way like this. So do I have room? I may. Let me get a couple of screws started here. I got those. Let me get the 2 screws on the bottom. The hard drive cabinet. 1 more of these, and I should be ready to go with that. Oh, I didn't put the second screw yet. Let me get the second screw here underneath. So what this does tell me is I better put all the SATA cables in before I put the cooler in for the processor. I think that's going to be the last thing that I put in. And I got this sitting really close. I didn't tighten these screws down yet. This I'll be able to get to the SATA connectors and power and data. Okay, that takes care of all the screws on that hard drive. Okay, that concludes step 3. Interesting one, wasn't it? Hopefully you got something out of it, and you're in mind to subscribe to my channel. So please click on the little head.